Welcome to Hip Hop Now Podcast. If you're from the future, you know what to do. Get your ass out of here. Don't disrespect the legend. Hip hop is here to stay. Let's get right into the business. What up, y'all? I am your host, Vegas, and this is Hip Hop Now Podcast, a podcast designed to keep you caught up on all things hip hop, music, and culture that happened throughout the week. Big shout out to the Patreon supporters over at patreon.com/hiphopnow. The link is in the description of this episode. Also, welcome back to the subscribers, audio and video, on YouTube, on Apple Podcasts, on Spotify, Tidal, wherever you get your podcasts. Tidal have podcasts? I don't know. Probably. And also, big welcome to the new subscribers, to the people over here at the channel right here on YouTube, Hip Hop Now Pod. Thank you for coming through. Thank you for checking out the stuff. But more importantly, thank you for subscribing. We are at 480 subscribers. We climbing, y'all. But we're trying to get to 500, man. It's baby steps. I know I got to get to 1,000. I know I want to get to 2,000, 3,000, 5,000, 100,000, all that good stuff. But I'm patient with you and those who haven't found us yet. So if you enjoy this content, you enjoyed any other content on the channel, like Tale of the Tapes, That Time in Hip Hop, or anything I've done in the past, subscribe to the YouTube channel today. Now, big shout out to hiphopdx.com, Ambrosia for Heads, and the Source Magazine, Twitter. Let's get right into the business. So this is coming from hiphopdx.com, and the title says, Snoop Dogg and Death Row partner with company that brought De La Soul's catalog to streaming. Now, well, let me just finish before I start interpreting this stuff. Snoop Dogg and Death Row Records have joined forces with Reservoir Media, the same music company responsible for making De La Soul's catalog available on streaming platforms. According to a press release on Wednesday, September 24th, the deal will include domestic publishings of all of Snoop's past and future works and the entirety of Death Row's catalog, which Snoop became the owner of in 2022. Among others, this includes classic Tupac hits, including Hail Mary, I Ain't Mad at You, and Picture Me Rollin'. And this is what Snoop had to say. And I quote, I'm so honored to have them as a partner and excited for all the great things to come with the catalog, as well as new music ventures, 2024 and beyond. So, to you, what does that mean? To me, what does that mean? That means if you don't already own this music in the digital space, but maybe you subscribe to streaming platforms and, you know, the albums are there, but maybe they're scattered or hard to track down certain albums versus others. And you know, this album is by Snoop Doggy Dogg, but this one's by Snoop Dogg, and this one is Snoop Lion. All will be gathered together under one umbrella. And the perfect reference is De La Soul's launch. It was literally called De La Soul Day when it happened. All of De La Soul albums were available, which weren't all available. None of them, honestly, available, except for, I think, a best of. None of their albums were available on streaming. So there was like this nice big rollout for De La Soul's music that was pretty dope. You know, it put all the focus on De La Soul and their music. So with this for Death Row, which is pretty true, it would almost be like, you know, now in your streaming service, if you like, yo, I just want to go down the Death Row rabbit hole of past albums I missed, all kinds of stuff. There'll probably be a central location where you can go there and listen to Doggy Style and the No Limit albums, which would be weird if that happens because there's three of them from Snoop. But I mean, I don't know. All his albums, you're not going to include No Limit. I don't know. Maybe that'd be like the branch on the tree. But you know what I mean? Like you'll go there and you'll be able to see, oh, here's Nate Dogg's album, here's Snoop's two albums on Death Row, and whatever later albums he released under the imprint once he owned it. Um, here's the Chronic, like just all of that. So it should be dope just because of the fanfare that will surround the release of all this music, nice and needy, and probably some new vinyl and all kinds of stuff. It'll be dope to do that. I don't get as excited because for those that have been following me probably since the Strictly Hip Hop days, shout out to you. But mostly from the blog era where, yes, I've been in it a long time. I had a blog. I was in the blog era, right? Until two dope boys just said, hey, just post videos. And now nobody wants to read. But back then I did an article. I wrote a post about, I wish I still had some of the stuff so I could just share it, but I really don't. I don't know where they would be. But it was literally about me getting rid of my CD collection because I had gotten to the point where I was listening to a lot of my music on, like iPods and I had a Zoom, Microsoft Zoom back then. And I was just looking at my CDs and I was like, man, I don't even play those like I used to. And I remember putting an album in that I know I didn't play a lot and it was skipping. And because you can't let CDs just sit. So I was just like, nah, man, I'm about to lose a lot of music, a lot of stuff I paid for. So I just went ahead and converted all my CDs to digital, like a digital library. I also did it with some of my cassettes, like the joints I didn't have on CD. And I just made my digital library. It's literally the legacy of the music I've purchased over time. It ain't mostly new joints that I bought through iTunes. So a lot of like if you go to my iTunes and listen to my library of music, you listen to something like the Low End Theory. It's not the one that was released digitally. It's the one I digitized from my original cassette that's back here. So you know what I mean? Like it's stuff like that where I don't get excited because I used to buy a lot of music and I had a lot of brand loyalty to certain labels and especially artists I liked a lot. But I'm not as opposed to remasters and stuff like that, depending on the album. And maybe I'll do a bonus episode on that little particular topic sometime. Who knows? Lloyd Banks is getting ready to release All of Nothing or All or Nothing 3, which is the third installment of his mixtape series. I'm personally a fan of the Halloween Havoc series of mixtapes. Probably number 2, either number 2 or number 3. One of them was like, yo, this is an album. But All or Nothing, those joints was hot too. And I'm gonna just say this. Lloyd Banks is like he released a trilogy of albums since the lockdown, right? It was like, yo, everybody, Lloyd Banks back outside, and he's been featured on people's albums and all of that. But I always thought Lloyd Banks, for some reason, was just better when he did mixtapes. And I think it's because the mixtapes are loose. So there's really, he's not really trying to work with a concept or overall concept or trying to really construct an album with a theme, so to speak. You know what I mean? It's kind of like, oh, it's mixtapes, it's just bars and beats, and it's usually better. He sounds better half the time. So All or Nothing, I'm looking forward to that joint. Let's see what it says here on Instagram. He posted a teaser, which I saw, called All or Nothing Volume 3, Despite My Mistakes. And it seemed pretty dope. Now, the last time he released Part two was in 2016. That was a long time ago. So what I'll probably do myself is go back and check it out. Now here's the part that sucks, or it's trash, or whatever way you want to put that, because you're homophobic and you want to say pause. Uh, he didn't give a release date for this third installment, but judging how music has been released in recent years with rappers, it's probably really soon. It's probably first week of October, if not, coming up tomorrow. If you're from the future, you already got it. Shut up, get out of here. But I think it's sooner than we think. I just wonder about the timing, because as we enter the fourth quarter of music releases, which tend to calm down as we get closer to the Christmas holiday, you might get one or two, but October and November tend to be stacked with releases. And there are some big ones that we know are on the way, like Havoc and Method Man is definitely on the way. They just filmed a video, right? Benny the Butcher and 38 Special got Stabbed and Shot 2. I know somebody who's never heard of them before, like, what is it called? Stabbed and Shot 2. God damn. But you know what I mean? Like, you have some highly anticipated joints, like, Ransom says he has another project, which I believe is with Stove God, with Nicholas Craven on the beats. West Side Gun's got to drop his album. I get the feeling Conway gonna drop another album. Snoop and Dre is supposed to be dropping pretty soon. Method Man's on that album. From last we heard, Nas and Premier were releasing this year. Bars, but I don't know if it's coming out, fam. I don't think so. I don't know. So there's a lot of music like that's on the way, and then who knows what surprises are gonna happen, right? Like, is Kendrick dropping before the Super Bowl, or he dropping near the Super Bowl? I would assume Kendrick ain't dropping until next year, to be honest. That's what Usher did when he was at the Super Bowl, because there was a lot of hype around his name, a lot of hype around him in Vegas, and then he dropped the album, which I was a little bit disappointed in, because I was hyped. I was ready. Like, finally he dropping the album, and I was like, oh, this is cool. So in the hip hop realm, I think for Lloyd Banks, whose profile has been lowered over the years, way lower than the profile he had when G Unit was at the top. But hip hop fans and heads check for him. You know what I'm saying? So to know that he got a new mixtape coming out, I'm anxious to hear it. I think these two have collabed before, but I would love to hear him on a record again with Fabulous, because they have a similar rhyme style, and I just know the bars would be crazy. Put Kiss on there too. I know you're gonna have probably some of the usual suspects, but I'm looking forward to it. So maybe I'll review it. I don't know. We'll see. And lastly, so in you can't be tired of stuff like Not Like Us. I already warned you on this show. Kendrick Lamar is Not Like Us. You're going to be hearing it all the way through to the Super Bowl. You probably hear it less now than you did during the summer, but trust me, it's not done yet. Homecoming is coming up soon. Homecoming season. The band's probably already been playing it at it's not done yet. We're not done yet. But what I've tried to avoid on this podcast is to spend the rest of the year talking about Drake versus Kendrick. When Not Like Us dropped that Saturday, where we were all online tweeting like crazy, going to Twitter, going to Instagram, I was on the phone, my homie on the phone, my sister, like, it was a fabulous time to be alive. And not just because I picked Kendrick to win, being a big Kendrick fan, but I'm also a Drake fan. You know what I'm saying? Like, I want him to get back to the grooves. And it was taking him a while to get over publicly, get over, the loss. He's been quiet lately, but does that have something to do with this Diddy stuff? Because a couple of people have been quiet. They've been missing. I don't know. But I've tried to avoid constantly talking about any little breadcrumb from this battle, mainly because if you go back on this channel or on the podcast stream, we wore it out. And we did a final episode, shout out to Tone of Into the Dome podcast, where we just talked about, this moment in hip hop. Like it was a moment in hip hop. And there were some lingering threads from this battle or questions, right? Like, will Kendrick release any more of the diss records? Will there be some hints on the albums? What will Drake do next? He keeps dropping joints and, they kind of get forgotten about. They're not really hitting the way they used to hit. And probably most importantly, or most intriguing, for me at least, is J. Cole. We know he released a mixtape that was pretty dope. That honestly, I'll include in my, not top 5, but my best of the year, depending on whether he drops the album, which may come out this year. He has an album that mixtape was kind of like the warm-up for. The name of the album is called The Fall Off, ironically. And 2 things happened this week that could spell the beginnings of a J. Cole comeback. And I'll just say what people are thinking about it. So one of the things that happened was an interview with Trey the Truth, who said that J. Cole's album, The Fall Off, will shock people. And he said it's on its way, right? Let's see if we can find. He was on the Breakfast Club and he said, don't get it effed up. His album coming. And when the album coming, it's probably going to shock a lot of people. Remember what I tell you all the time. A lot of people form opinions on a lot of things and they don't fully know the situation. He'll be all right. Before it's too late, you never know what bro may do. Now, the young kids will say, that's cap. And when they say that, they're just like, you just trying to make sure the homie, people are still interested and don't sleep on him and it's going to be dope and you're going to stop talking so much trash about J. Cole. Now, for those who've been under a rock for the majority of the year, and like, well, why would you talk trash about J. Cole? What'd he do? Well, during the Kendrick Lamar, at the very beginning of the Kendrick Lamar and Drake battle, which also included J. Cole was the first to respond to Kendrick's Like That verse, which appeared on the Metro Boomin and Future album, We Don't Trust You, right? Even though the title track to We Still Don't Trust You, that's my draw. I love playing it. I don't even have no ops like that, but I'm like, we still don't trust you. All right. But he put it on this mixtape, Might Delete Later, as the last song. And like I said, this mixtape, Might Delete Later, was dope. Some superior rapping. But why people are feeling a kind of way about J. Cole has to do with the fact that he quit the battle before it could begin, because the diss record he put on there, which he since has taken off the mixtape, called 7 Minute Drill, most people thought it was really lackluster and had some cap stuff in there, like, really like trying to say Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers wasn't a good album. And everybody was like, what? Where were you? You know what I'm saying? So he left, something in his spirit said, I can't do this to my homie. And then he left. I kind of laughed because I was like, what part of battle rapping is this? Ain't nobody fighting. Nobody's fighting. Why you running? Why you running, man? But I got it. He just didn't want to get riled up in the whole back and forth, and I understand. Mainly because that's his homie, mainly because that's just not where he is as an artist. He don't really want to battle rap. But You in hip hop, you can't be calling yourself the GOAT, the best, and that, and you backing it up with the bars. But then when you get challenged by one of the top dudes in the game, you bowing out. And mainly, I'm honestly, I'm thinking it had more to do with people saying, "Hey, look, the beef's not even with you." So I'm sorry you put that whack joint out, but just get out the way. Let us get at Aubrey. Move out the way. We don't want smoke with you. We want him, right? I think honestly that's what it was. And it'd be dope if he say that. Because then Drake would be like, you backstabbing, like, you know what I'm saying? But so that's the whole thing, right? And I had my own theories, and so did the internet about the fall off. Is this all on purpose? Did him and Kendrick conspire? You know what I'm saying? Did J. Cole call Kendrick when he got the call, like, yo, this dude want me to come out on stage with him and stuff like that, but I know he got beef with you, but let's box him in. Or like the old head says, let's put him in a trick bag. I don't know what that means, but that's what the box him in meant back in, I guess, the 20s or whatever. But listen, man, people didn't like that. I kind of didn't like it. So a lot of people really didn't like it because you can't really consider yourself a competitive top MC in your words and then back out of a battle. And some people felt like, oh, well, J. Cole was the smart one to get out the way. So he doesn't, but he kind of caught his own flack from fans. And every time he would pop up, people would just remind everybody, oh, yo, he ran from the battle. He ran from the battle. Me, I whatever, man. Just don't say GOAT. Okay. You're not the GOAT. Not if you duck in battles. You're not. You're not even close. But he's still dope. And that's evident in the song released by battle rapper Daylight featuring J. Cole called A Plate of Collard Greens. And when I tell you what J. Cole is doing on this song is supreme bar work. Supreme bar work. It's honestly the thing I said a couple of episodes back he should do. Stop, because you know what? Honestly, it's tired for a lot of people to keep calling themselves the GOAT and the best. At some point, you just got to show people. And I think that's what Kendrick did in the battle, right? He just showed people. Like, I'm not just going to keep saying I'm the best, I'm the king, I'm the best, I'm the best. Sure, it's going to be in there, but I'm just going to show you why through my output. And that's how I feel like J. Cole can win back some of those fans. Like, yo, all right, the top threes, the GOATs, the top fives, dead or alive, we're not even talking that language no more. I'm just going to show you what I do. And you won't be able to call it whack. You can keep talking about the battle and how much you feel like I ducked it all you won. But at the end of the day, you're not going to call me whack. And I think this is the first step into him coming back, releasing this album, right? Trade of Truth says something. Do we have to listen to Trade of Truth? Hell no, we don't. Some people like, who is that? We don't have to listen to him. It's like when a producer or a film exec says this could potentially be the greatest film of the year. Well, of course it could. You work for them. So if you cool with him and you think it's dope, you can come outside and tell us, wait till y'all hear this. But all we still see is, in my spirit, I ain't want to battle no more, man. I ain't want it. So to me, and I know some people feel like, oh, leave him alone. Stole him out, Debo. No, this is the way you do it. If people are questioning your pin game because they feel like you quit a battle, even though they know you were nice prior to that, just remind them. This is what I do. I'm going to casually do it. Then I'm going to get on my bike with my socks over my jeans and I'm out. I know y'all seen that. I'm going to be in the random beach, shoes on in the sand, whatever. I need some inspiration to write these bars. And all jokes aside, like, it's tough. The only thing that was questionable, because I heard J. Cole's verse first before I heard Daylight's. And I don't know if it was a choice for them to approach the lyrics in the same way, but I've watched a lot of battle rap and I know Daylight. I know his flow. And J. Cole's flow sounds a lot like Daylight's. And I'm just hoping that's a choice, not a like, man, I'm down in the dumps. Need some bars. Battle rapper, help me out. You writing all the time. I doubt it, because that would be even worse. Like, come on, man. I like this dude, J. Cole. I don't want to see that happen. Because there's some people who would throw him away forever if they knew his comeback bars came from someone else. He didn't write them himself. So I don't believe that. I think his verse on this song is crazy. I don't know if I take Trey the Truth's word for it, because I just want to hear for myself. So when the album, The Fall Off, drops, I'll be there, listen to it. I'll be here to review it. And then we'll see what's up. We'll say what we got to say about J. Cole. But it took me a minute to listen to J. Cole again, just because I was just being disappointed as a fan that he ducked the battle so quickly, like, and probably more so that he put out a lackluster diss record. But maybe that's just not what he does. So leave the GOAT talk and the top fives alone. The conversation itself is tired. Show in your output, and then we'll judge. Us, the fans, the hip hop heads, will judge who we think is the best, like we've always done it. That's going to do it for me. What do you think about J. Cole's new verse on his Daylight record? Leave your comments in the comment section below. Or do you live and die or breathe, not die, but breathe by streaming releases, especially of classic material? Are you excited to just have a hub of just Death Row Records music? Leave your comments in the comments section wherever you listen to this podcast. I do read them. I do respond. Spotify, my bad. I didn't know y'all had comments, and I'm seeing comments from 2 years ago, and I'm like, hey, man, thanks for listening. I don't even know if you with us anymore, but whatever. Leave your comments in the comment section. I appreciate it. Also, if you enjoy this content and you're not subscribed, you should subscribe, because guess what? I look at my stats and about 50% of y'all aren't subscribed, but you watch. I appreciate you watching, but subscribe to the podcast. Stay locked in. I'm trying to get to 500. Right now, we at 480. That means there's 20 to go. 20 people? I could get 20 people. If you know other heads who would enjoy this kind of content, share it with them and make them subscribers, okay? Come one, come home. Pause. Until next time, y'all, I'm not a critic. I'm a fan. Peace.